Alright, advanced math. I'm going to take this whole solving an equation thing out to a pretty tough level today. So be ready for me. We're going to solve equations today when distributing and combining are both necessary. Alright, so make this the title of your next page about this in your math notebook, and going to need a lot of concentration today. So close it up after that. Alright, so yesterday we worked on some equations like this, where you had to combine like terms before you solved it. You know, this looks pretty hard to figure out what x is from here. But once we combined some like terms in here, it wasn't so bad. So we said add the opposite, and I had x's that I could combine, and I also had constants that I could combine. So I can rewrite that equation as 4x plus negative 2x is 2x, negative 6 and 13 is 7, and so I simplified that side, equals 7. So that's a lot easier to solve, because now I have my very familiar 2 operation problem to solve, times 2 and plus 7. And if I do those in reverse gems order to find x, then I'm going to subtract 7 first, and I'm going to divide by 2 second. So subtract 7 from both sides. I do that in order to make 2x equals 0, and pretty easy already to tell what x is. But if I really follow my steps thoroughly, my last step is to divide by 2 on both sides, and I get x equals 0. And if I were to go back and check that up here, 4 times 0 is 0, plus negative 6, plus 0, plus 13 does in fact equal 7. That is correct. All right. So we've done ones like that. Today we're going to do ones where you've got to use the distributive property and combine like terms. So if you look here, I have x's that I can combine on this side of this problem, but one set's in parentheses and one set's not, so I can't combine them because this isn't really 3x. It's 3x times this negative 2. It's negative 2 sets of it. So before I can combine these, I'm going to have to use the distributive property first. So when I look at this, my steps here are going to be distributive property. Then, after I've gotten rid of those parentheses, then I'm going to combine like terms. Then I'm going to do my reverse gems, and I think I'll have it. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to start with the distributive property. That means I'm going to rewrite this using the distributive property. So it's going to be negative 2 times this and negative 2 times this. It's 2 sets of both of these. Negative 2 sets, really. So negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x, and negative 2x times 4 is negative 8. So that's done. Now I've done that, and all the rest stays the same. I didn't change anything here. I just rewrote this part of this expression a different way. So the rest is just going to follow with it. And now, not too bad from here. Now I've got some like terms I can combine. Remember, I've got to stay on the same side of the equal sign. I can't combine the negative 8 and the 16 because they're across the equal sign. But I can combine these. So I'm going to get negative 6x plus 3x is negative 3x plus negative 8 equals 16. Now I've done this, and I've done this. Now I'm ready to do my steps in reverse gems order. So I'm going, let's see, I have 2 operations. I have plus negative 8, which the inverse operation is going to be subtract negative 8. And I've got times negative 3, so the inverse operation is going to be divide by negative 3. Alright, so here we go. So subtract negative 8. I do that to make 0. Kind of seems weirder with the negatives, but it is fine. And then I'm going to subtract negative 8 here. So 16 minus negative 8. That's the same as 16 plus positive 8, which is 24. So now I've got negative 3x equals negative 24. Divide both sides by negative 3. And I've got 1x, or just x, equals negative 8. And there you go. So it's kind of a lot of steps, but hopefully not too bad. Distribute first, so that the reason I distribute is so then I can combine those like terms. After I combine like terms, I'm down to a usual equation that's easy to solve. And then I just solve the usual equation from there. Okay, we're going to do a slightly tougher one with some fractions in it, and a lot, and some more things to combine in the we do. So open your notebook up, and let's do this one. Kind of a toughie. A lot going on in this problem, but I think we'll be okay. So when you look at this, go ahead and write the problem down. Again, my steps are going to be to distribute, then combine, then do my reverse gems. Then I'll have a normal problem after I do that. Everything should be pretty simple. So the reason I have to distribute first is I'd love to combine these x's, and I would love to combine the negative 7 and the negative 6, but I can't because these are in parentheses. And I'm not going to have 9x. I'm going to have whatever 2/3 times 9x is. And I'm not going to have 6. I'm going to have whatever 2/3 times 6 is. So I can't do the combining step until I get rid of these parentheses. So first thing I'm going to have to do, I have a lot of subtraction, and I've got to avoid subtraction. So I'm going to rewrite this all with add the opposite. So I'm going to have 3x plus negative 7 plus negative 2/3 times 9x plus negative 6. That should help me avoid any potential problems from the subtracting. Okay, so distribute first. So my distributive property, I've got negative 2/3 times 9x plus negative 6. So I've got to do a few things here. So negative 2/3 times 9x. I'm just going to do times the 9. I know it's going to have an x. Just to figure out it's going to be something times x when I'm all done. And I got to figure something out. So I'm going to ignore the x for a moment and figure out the 2/3 times 9. That is negative 2/3 times 9 wholes. Move this down. I'm going to need more space. Which is negative 18 thirds. Oh, and that works out to a whole number actually, so that's actually negative 6. So I'm going to have, this is going to stay the same. Deal with that later. Plus negative 6x. I'm going to do that. I don't like those parentheses. They kind of make that look more confusing. I'm just going to do a high negative. Like that. And then I've got negative 2/3 times the negative 6 also. So negative 2/3 times negative 6. So I'm going to end up with a positive number there. It's going to be negative 2/3 times negative 6 wholes, which is positive 12/3, which is 4. Oh, so that's nice. So I had a fraction before the distributive property, but I'm not going to have a fraction anymore. So now I've taken this and made that. Negative 2/3 times 9x is negative 6x. Negative 2/3 times negative 6 is 4. And now the big scary fraction is gone, and the problem's not so bad anymore. I have some things I can combine. I can combine x's, and I can combine constants. So 3x and negative 6x is negative 3x. Negative 7 and 4 is negative 3. All equals 15. Haven't touched that 15 yet the whole time. It's always been on its own side of the equal sign with nothing happening over there. And now I've done that, and I've done that, and now I have a usual gems in reverse problem. I have plus negative 3, and I have times negative 3. And I'm going to do the opposite of those, subtract negative 3 and divide by negative 3 in the proper order. So I got to undo the subtraction and addition first. So I'm going to subtract negative 3 from both sides. And I'll get that's 0. Negative 3x equals 15 minus negative 3. That's 15 plus positive 3, add the opposite, so negative 3x equals 18. And divide both sides by negative 3. And I get x equals negative 6. 6, yeah. So I mean, if you look at this, looks like you did a lot of work, and I think you did. You had to deal with a fraction, you had to do the distributive property, had to combine like terms, and then had to solve the equation. I mean, that's some serious math right there. These are tough problems, and you know, the ones you're going to do for You Do Together and You Do Alone tomorrow are going to be tough problems as well. So please make sure, you know, these are kind of like the hardest level of problem you're going to do like this as a 7th grader. So please make sure you look back and you have really good command of this before you come tomorrow. I would definitely probably watch the I Do and the We Do again, because this is just new and it's tough and it's a lot. So please make sure you do your part and you come to class super ready tomorrow, and I will see you when you get here.